Welcome to Green Giants, Titans of Renewable Energy, the podcast where insights and innovation meet. Every episode, we dive into conversations with industry leaders, experts, and change makers, bringing you the stories and ideas in the renewable energy sector that shape our world. And now, let's jump into today's episode with your host, Wes Ashworth. Welcome back to another episode of Green Giants, Titans of Renewable Energy. Today we have a special guest who has been at the forefront of solar innovation for over a decade. Martin Pochtaruk, the president and founder of Heliene, brings with him 35 years of experience in managing manufacturing and innovation businesses across Europe and the Americas. Since founding Heliene in 2010, Martin has been challenging the solar industry status quo by prioritizing customer needs and delivering high-quality, competitively priced solar PV modules, all manufactured right here in North America. I'm excited to dive into his journey and explore how Heliene is shaping the future of solar energy. Martin, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you. Absolutely. So we'll start out at an easy place. Can you share a little bit about your background and just a brief journey that led you to join the renewable energy sector and become president at Heliene?
Mm-hmm. Thank you. You know, I sometimes feel that I'm 150 years old because I lived a few lives before getting into renewables. You know, left university being a physicist. You know, when I got into university, no different than every 17-year-old, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew that I was good at math and I wanted to be, you know, a nuclear physicist or something of that type. I ended up working in material sciences, and I went into steelmaking for oil and gas applications. And I worked for two multinationals over 20 years, both sides of the Atlantic, and for a period also in the Southeast of Asia, working in special applications for steel being used for oil and gas extraction and transportation. And, what I always say is after polluting or, helping to pollute for 20 years, it was, the time to make up for that. Well, that's a nice story. Really, I went to renewables because I thought it was going to be a good business. And that is we all do, particularly when we have, families to provide for. Back then, we're talking about early 2010, Ontario, where I'm based, had a feed-in tariff program, and that program required domestic content on the hardware, on the equipment to generate electricity. So the intent and the idea and the plan for Heliene came up. I partnered with other, like-minded individuals with the same goals. And we started manufacturing solar modules in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. So this is the very east end of Lake Superior. For anybody looking at the map of North America, we're in a good 5 hours drive north from Detroit or 6.5 hours drive north from Chicago, 7 hours drive northwest from Toronto. So really the middle of nowhere. A small community, industrial based small community, and we've been manufacturing up here since. So almost 14 years. It will be 14 years next month, September 2024. We started manufacturing in Minnesota May 1st, 2017. We took over an existing factory, made an initial investment there in 2018 for a new manufacturing line. A second line was built a building, and the second line was built in 2022. And then in 2023, we replaced the line that we installed in 2018.
Okay.
Basically, we took that out and installed a new state-of-the-art manufacturing line. So today, we have two manufacturing lines in the U.S. The factory is in a small town that's called Mountain Iron, Minnesota, which, as the name indicates, the very place where most of the iron ore for the manufacturing of new steel, both in Canada and in the US, comes from. So small town, industrial based. That's where we are. And now we're working. So the next phase of the expansion brings us to the Minneapolis-St. Paul metro area, with a manufacturing line just northwest of the city, and within 30 minutes of downtown. And that's where we're going to have the next two module manufacturing lines, as well as the cell manufacturing line.
Okay. Oh, excellent. And I am a little curious too in hearing the transition from, steel industry to renewables. I guess, how did your experience in the steel industry influence your transition to renewable energy? And, do you feel like it's helped you? Like, what are some of the benefits? And I know there are others out there that are sort of contemplating these switches.
Well, manufacturing per se is a discipline, right? Manufacturing implies working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
The manufacturing processes are complex, but at the same time, they happen over and over and over.
Right.
Therefore, there's the potential for automation and the need for automation, the need for automation towards quality assurance, towards making a product well. All I've done my whole life is manufacturing. So, when I look for something else to do, I put together a business plan and then went for financing to start up the company back in 2010. I never thought of, going into financial services or software development.
Right. Yeah.
But I concentrated on what I know, which is, creating value from manufacturing products.
Yeah, no, I love it. Manufacturing at heart and it through and through, but now you're obviously supporting a great mission too.
And at the beginning, I found it very simple, right? Because when you manufacture steel, you have issues like liquid steel at 1200 degrees centigrades being poured. You don't have that with module manufacturing. Now, with cell manufacturing, there's a bit more complexity. There's, management of chemicals in gas form, in liquid form, and water treatment plants, which is a bit more of the type of complexity that I've been used to.
Yeah. And I want to transition a little bit. You kind of jokingly said, hey, it was a good business model. I jumped into it. But I know from talking to you before, there's a lot of passion. There's a lot of heart behind what you do. And we talked about, your company's purpose really revolving around this concept of Tikkun Olam, making the world a better place. Can you elaborate on how this principle guides your company's missions and operations? And just tell us a little bit more about that.
Proposed this at the very beginning as an approach to doing things well and doing things in life that produce a legacy, right? As I was saying, I'm over 150 years old. So at my age, you need to think, what are you living? What have you done? And what are you doing that actually will make the world a better place, that creates a legacy for which things are improving? And things are improving from, working in a plant that is dying to allowing families to get well-paid salaries and well-paid benefits, which is a requirement in the US. You guys don't have Medicare or, social services like we do have in Canada, right? So both countries present different needs and, allowing all of these things to evolve towards being better, towards, again, we are so far, Montreal, Minnesota, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario are economically challenged places where jobs are needed. Economic diversification of communities that, whether it's mining in northern Minnesota or steel making in the north of Ontario, brings yet alternatives of type of work from sophisticated R&D to labor, right? For operators that work in the manufacturing lines, creating a legacy that is sustainable in the long term. It's important to me and has always been. But if you want to, now I have a bit of the lever to I have had through starting a business as an entrepreneur. You can think through what you're doing and actually making it happen. right? When you work for a multinational that has 100,000, 200,000 employees, I mean,
Yeah.
your contribution is always important, but you can have less of an effect because at the end you do what the corporation mandates, right?
Yeah.
When you're an entrepreneur, you can design what the company does to ensure that the values are kept, the
Mhm.
legacy is created, and the purpose is achieved. I think I mentioned to you, we made a few months ago a series of short videos that are used by our human resources department to hire operators. And we have a very young man. Our crews are, generally between 20 and 25 years of age.
Yeah.
And this, young man who has been an operator for 2.5 years, basically he said that what motivates him to wake up in the morning and go to work is that he knows that his work is making the world a better place. And when I heard that, besides getting emotional,
Yeah. Love it.
what I thought is, this is working. Basically,
Hmm.
we're doing exactly what we're set.
Yeah. Gosh, it's so good and powerful. And I think one, I'll say you look really good for 150. So when you're when you're a part of making the world a better place, apparently adds years to your life and keeps the youth going. But yeah, just the passion behind that, and you can tell that it truly is genuine and something you believe in, and you've created this culture in your organization. And I love too, just you have all this experience, all these skills in manufacturing, but then applying that to this principle of making the world a better place, repairing the world, doing that. And I think that translates. And so when employees come in at any level and they find that purpose, they find that meeting, and it's not just a poster on the wall, but it's something you live and embody. That's the true difference. I hope anybody listening to that can hear, and I know they will hear that heart and passion. It's more than just, yes, we're doing this as a business. Yes, there's an important part of that, but the heart and the passion behind it is really what's driving, I think, your huge success and creating a company that honestly, people want to come work for and stay with for the long haul. So yeah, thank you for
I can
sharing
only
that.
hope. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
without a doubt. So something along with this, you mentioned the importance of creating and sustaining jobs, especially in some of these economically challenged communities. Can you share more about Heliene's impact specifically on these communities and your strategies for economic development?
Certainly, one of the key points that the state government does in Ontario, the province government does as well, is look for, on the recruiting side, bringing companies to remote communities to create jobs, and bringing companies that actually do something different is key to that. The energy transition itself is not that new anymore, but still new. When you look for financing, banks are going to tell you, no, if your industry is too new, I'm not going to lend you money. But,
Right.
we've been around for, long enough.
Hmm.
It's an industry that has 25, 30 years of age. Been around for 14 years exactly now. Economic diversification makes our communities stable and sustainable in the long term, particularly when mining or steel making or other Victorian era industries,
Yeah.
through automation, through evolution in the work, employ less and less. The logging, wood and paper industries, in a big part, have dwindled down. So that is something that up in the north, both in Canada and the northern states, has been a stable employer for the last 150 years, and those
Yeah.
jobs are slowly disappearing,
Hmm.
or being concentrated in some places, but not generalized everywhere. So for that reason, for every dollar that we pay on payroll, there is roughly 2.5 to $2.7 that go to the community in economic development. That is, it's an accepted multiplier.
Yeah.
Um, and that explains why, the government of Minnesota, through the application, the use of it was called the taconite tax.
Hmm.
That companies in northern Minnesota pay the state for every ton of iron ore extracted is reinvested in economic development in the area. That's why in Ontario, there is also subsidies or incentives that the government uses to lend to companies that want to create jobs. And that money is, of course, paid back or is forgiven over time, provided that you maintain the level of jobs that you have agreed to create and maintain. Back in 2010, $2.5 million from the Ontario government, but we've been paying over $2 million, $2.5 million of payroll every year in the
Uh-huh.
same community for 14 years,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
So you see that the money goes back to the community, tenfold. And the same in Montenegro, Minnesota, right? And the same
Yeah.
will be for the jobs that we'll be creating in the Minneapolis metro area.
Yeah. And anybody that's grown up in a really small town, myself included, I did, that the impact of this, that there's usually a major employer that really supports the livelihood of that town, and you see it happen. And this happened to me. I moved away, and some years later went back. That major employer had left the area, and this town was decimated. You couldn't even recognize it. So how important it is for companies like yours to come into these communities, create jobs. That's noble in itself, but then also you're making the world a better place and the planet a better place and helping us with energy transition. So that's really a win-win for everyone. So that's love hearing that story. Another
And
piece you mentioned. Go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
no, this is we've been around before the Inflation Reduction Act, right? The Inflation
Yeah.
Reduction Act has provided a boost to the manufacturing for renewables in the entire country, right? You see
Right.
factories going into different places in Georgia, in South Carolina. Texas has been a large recipient of the investments towards the manufacturing as well. We're a bit of an oddball being in the upper Midwest, but again, there's nothing not to like in northern Minnesota winter weather.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Warm, sunny days all the time. It's beautiful right now behind you. Anybody watching the video, it's a gorgeous scene. So not too bad, not too bad. I was going to say, you mentioned something else about just, banking and financing and some of the challenges there. And I know it is a significant challenge for many renewable energy companies. How has Heliene navigated this challenge as it relates to financing? And what strategies have you employed to secure some of that funding and support and make it possible?
I would say that in Minnesota in particular, we've been very lucky to find a very open community, and I mean the entire state, not just the towns where we are, but the state of Minnesota has a very well working Congress
Yeah.
over the years. We've been there since 2017. There has been, whether the House or the Senate is controlled by one party or the other, what we
Sure.
have seen is that they can really work together to make things
Mhm.
happen, right? So we did get approval for $12 million from the state in late
Yeah.
2021
Okay.
through the pandemic. With that, the Senate was Republican controlled, the House was Democratic controlled, but they worked together in favor of what was right, in
Hmm.
favor of providing, the communities. And this money didn't come to Heliene. The money came to the city of Montenegro to build a building for us to basically make an investment in equipment
Yeah.
and build a new manufacturing line and employ another 250 people. What we saw, right, is that the state had, walked the talk. The
Mm.
state, under the leadership of Governor Waltz, basically did what was right for the community. And it didn't matter, if you were a Republican or a Democrat
Yeah.
working at the House or at the Senate of the state. What
Hmm.
was important is that we were going to make an investment matching what the state was going to put down. And again, the money didn't come to us, it went to the city.
Yeah.
And the building is owned by the city, not
Right.
by us. right?
Mhm.
So it was not a hand down to a corporation. It was, economic development for a town. And, that has been a strong part of, as a private small company, of securing financing to allow growth.
Mhm.
For the first 13 years, all of the equity contributed was family related
Yeah.
funds from the
Wow.
two families that have had control of this company until last year.
Yeah.
We're one of them, and there's another, friends that co-participate in this. And in 2023, we made the first ever equity raise,
Wow.
in which two clients came in, and also a fund
Mhm.
that's called Orion Infrastructure Capital.
Yeah.
OIC.com is their website. They're
Okay.
based in New York as well as in Houston. We refinance debt with them. So they came both at equity level and at debt refinancing level. And, we're very lucky to have their support. They're great people to work with. And, by 2026, we'll have them paid down, and
Yeah.
they will continue to be a shareholder. And again, what we found is that banks so far have been very reticent
Mhm.
to provide large working capital lines. I was told once by not too long ago by an officer of the Royal Bank of Canada. Again, this is the fifth largest bank in the
Yeah.
planet,
Yeah.
right? It's not a small bank. That solar is too new. Of course, we are not the oil and gas. We haven't been
Right.
around for 150 years. Even if I
Yeah.
have, I mean, the company has not.
Right.
So you see that still, and I think this was, prior to the Inflation Reduction Act. I think that there's a better understanding of the potential, as the impact of manufacturing, as the impact of power generation from renewables continues growing, and is better known,
Mhm.
that banks will participate more on this directly versus, private equity money
Right.
or other sources that are not merchant banks, which makes financing more expensive, right? When
Mhm.
you borrow from a private equity fund, or a fund that has been created for a specific purpose, the interest rates that you're paying will be higher
Right.
than what a bank can lend at. But again, when you're growing at the pace that we have been growing, then you need a partner that's more flexible than a bank. Banks are not known to be very flexible, right? So when you look at what we have done in 2022, our revenue was 300% of 21.
Wow.
23 was 200% of 22. 24 is going to be another 70+% growth.
Yeah.
And at this pace, because of contracts already signed, 2025 is going to be roughly another 100% growth over 2024.
Incredible.
So when you're growing at this pace, basically flexibility is key. Availability of cash for working capital is more than key. Is extremely important. And generally, so far, you can only do this type of thing with the likes of OIC.
Right. No, absolutely. An incredible, difficult enough sort of coming up with a good business, a good product, going into these small towns, getting financing, funding, all those challenges that are there, and then having tremendous growth, which is what you just mentioned is incredible. Part of that, the additional challenge, as you've mentioned, is attracting talent to manufacturing. Something near and dear to my heart. I grew up in recruiting in manufacturing, so I know how difficult it is, especially in these small towns. But I'm curious to learn how you've navigated that challenge. So, what innovative approaches has Heliene taken to recruit and retain skilled workers, especially in some of these remote areas or economically challenged areas?
I don't think there is a known solution. You have to innovate daily. And
Yeah.
still, if you do, you still need to recruit all the time and train all the time. To answer your question with a very simple sentence is, you want to retain people, pay more, pay better. that is
Right.
provide benefits,
Yeah.
right? So that is key, right?
Yeah.
If you don't do that, then nobody comes.
Yeah.
Today, in the communities where we're paying roughly, because there is a matrix of pay depending on your position, but in general, we pay for operators $5 per hour more
Uh-huh.
than the average job in the area,
Okay. No kidding.
right? So when the average job in northern Minnesota is $17.50, then
Yeah.
our average is 23.5. You need to start there, and then you provide health benefits, 401k match, and all the
Mm-hmm.
things that will make you be outstanding versus the competition. By competition, I mean all of those employing in your area, not
Yeah.
those making your product somewhere else. And that is specific to operators. And even if you do that, what we have and what we see in terms of turnover. Turnover is the amount of people that leave at the end of the month, that change
Yeah.
jobs, or just leave because they consider that they worked enough, which is
Mm-hmm.
a millennial issue that we didn't, for the old folks like me. I mean, it wasn't something that we never thought. I work
Yeah.
enough. I'm going to stay home for a year. That
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
part of what we did, but now it is. We have 4% turnover. Four
Wow.
percent turnover, right, in a factory with you know 100 people, it means that you're losing four every day. So
Yeah.
when we have 300, 400 people within a
Mm-hmm.
building, it means that basically you will have, in between 15 and 20 employees that are new
Mm-hmm.
every single month.
Yeah.
Every single month.
Yeah.
That means that you are hiring every single month. That means that
Uh-huh.
you are training every single month.
Sure.
So hiring and training becomes, part of your manufacturing process, right? You need to churn 15 to 20 new employees every single month. So you need
Yeah.
to, interview 100 people every month to get 20 to come and work every
Mm-hmm.
month,
Yeah.
right? So that is a lot of work, and that is an effect of the times we are living. I don't think this is
Yeah.
specific to us. This is
No.
happening to everybody that employs, particularly for manufacturing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Manufacturing was what made our countries what they are,
Right.
post Second World War.
Yeah.
Manufacturing is not fashionable anymore,
No.
right? I don't see my kids, right, which are, adults, willing to go to the office more than twice a week.
Right.
Right. So with the things they work on, and they complain because they had to go to the office twice a week,
Uh-huh.
and work from home, or in the case of my son, in different country in the planet, he says, "Oh, I'm going to work from," he's based in Korea, and he says, "Oh, I'm going to work from Canada this month," and here he
Right.
is, or
Yeah.
he says, "I'm going to work from Argentina and see my cousins next month," and
Right.
there he goes.
Mm-hmm.
Manufacturing, you have to be in the factory on time, not
Yeah.
late, not 2 hours, not one day, one day. No, you had to be for your shift early enough
Mm-hmm.
every day. Every day
Yep.
that you have, a shift, you have to be there. And we work 4 days on, 4 days off.
Okay.
So basically, you go to work for 12 hours for 4 days, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have 4 days off. Again, we work 4 days, 4 days off, four on, four off,
Yeah.
which is, what our employees have voted. It
Uh-huh.
is It is like what they prefer, because they
Yeah.
basically have 4 days off every time.
Yeah.
That
It.
that is for operators, and then when you look at engineers, like we need a good quantity of engineers as well. It's very difficult to find, particularly from your industry, people with
Mm-hmm.
experience. Our manufacturing process is a highly automated process. So if you're coming from the automotive industry, then
Yeah.
you are very well prepared.
Yep.
If you're coming from any industry that has automated manufacturing processes, you are prepared. But generally, what we are doing, and I've been doing this in previous roles and previous lives, is you engage with universities that have electronics, mechatronics, which is the new way to call the mixture in between mechanical and electronics.
Right.
And you hire people if you can. You have co-op students while they're students. You have internships, and you develop relationships so that you hire people very green the moment they graduate at 22 years of age or so, and then you bring them and you train them in-house. Right?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to find, people with experience in what we do. So you hire and you train, and you hire and you train, and people will, change jobs. I mean, now it's very common for young people after 2 or 3 years basically to look for something else to do. Therefore, you start again, and you have a pool of young people that you hire. On the northern side of the border, right, on the Canadian side, we are lucky that we can hire internationally, right? So Canada has negative demographic growth,
Right.
which means is that there's more people dying than being born. Canada has a minimum of 300,000 immigrants that are needed just to keep the population where it is, not to grow,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
basically to keep it where it is,
Maintain.
to maintain. What we do is basically we have the ability to look for talent in every country in the world. We hire them if they're interested to move to Canada and to North America in general within, I would say, an average of 4 months, but it could be as long as 6. We obtain what is called a permanent residence status, which will be similar to a green card in the U.S.
Sure.
And we can have them working here. So then, once you're in Canada, then we can have that know-how being shared with the rest of the employees.
Yeah, absolutely. And what you just outlined there is so complex and important. And I hope everybody grasps that is there's no shortcut, in this whole talent.
No.
And the shortage is real, it's there, it's every day. And the pandemic really accelerated that. And you heard people going to flip burgers and making more per hour than they were in a manufacturing plant. And you kind of can't win with that. If you've heard at the beginning here, it's building this culture that's a great place to work and purpose driven and people that are bought in. But then there are no shortcuts. You still have to pay competitively. And you said like above probably average. And you're doing a lot of these other innovative things and strategies. So it's no mystery to me why you're being successful in this. It's one of the most challenging things out there, but there really is no shortcut. You've got to really do it all and have the whole picture there. So yeah, I love hearing that story and music to my ears and what I'm doing. But so I do want to transition a little bit as we're getting further on time. But talking about some of the R&D efforts and innovative projects that you're doing in the company. Can you discuss some of those, at Heliene is working on, such as develop a nano coatings or agrivoltaics, or I don't know which way you want to go with it, but I'd love to hear some of the innovative things happening.
I can talk about two specific products that we're investing time and resources on. One is a partnership that we have with a company from New Mexico that's called UV Grow. What they do is setting nano coatings.
Okay.
Nano coatings that shift the absorption of light. When you look at, they started making this product for greenhouses. For a plant captures the light for photosynthesis in a particular range of frequencies, while a solar cell basically will get a different set of frequencies. So what we're doing is basically incorporating this light shifting nano coating into one of the layers that goes inside of the module, so that for all the light that goes through, but is not captured by the solar cell, then we tune that light to the frequencies in which the plants absorb. Okay. So this will be from the yellow to the red when you look at the spectrum of light. So the light that goes through is only going through on those frequencies. Therefore, the plants that will be under the solar modules then will maximize the photosynthesis for them. So this is, a product that is being thought through for this new stream of solar installations that are called agrivoltaics, which basically keep the farm at the solar farm. So in many
Yeah,
cases, solar installations are criticized because they're taking over agricultural land. Well, they
sure.
don't have to, right? Whether you elevate the height of the structure or you keep the whatever crop was being cultivated on that land, you can. And actually, you can have this product that we are developing and trying, with partnerships with the University of Minnesota as well as south of the border, as well as Western University north of the border, to maximize photosynthesis when you have also power production with solar on the same square foot of land. So
Yeah.
that is one project that we're working on and investing time with. And another product that we're working on is the quintessential AC module, right? So many
Hmm.
have tried different things, right? Today you have microinverters or optimizers.
Right.
There are the very well known products for both of them. We're working with a spin-off University of British Columbia that has developed a microchip
Okay.
that actually converts DC electricity into AC electricity at
Okay.
solar cell string level,
Hmm.
right? So what we're doing with this product, which is at the prototype level right now, is basically having the ability to maximize the power of a string of solar cells inside the solar module, right? Because
Yeah.
optimizer, which is a product that everybody uses, is
Yep.
external. So this will be
Okay.
inside the module, and whatever comes out of the cable actually will be already AC.
Yeah.
So this product, again, it doesn't exist in the market today. It's
Right.
entirely new. We're prototyping it. I would say it's a couple of years from being available for consumption.
Hmm.
We are at validation, prototyping and validation, third-party validation phase right now.
Got it.
This development take years, right? So
Yeah.
these are five-year long projects.
Yeah. Incredible stuff though. Pretty mind blowing, to kind of see it all come to life there. How do you create that innovative, creative culture? I mean, I'm sure it's not you coming up with all these ideas and
No,
making it
certainly
all
not.
work, right? Like you've got a lot
No,
of
certainly
people
not.
around
We
you,
have a
but how do you
team.
create
We
that
have a
culture?
team. Yeah, that's right. So, well, first of all, from the entrepreneurial point of view, you never say no to an idea.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
always look into it, right? So, I was what I say is when somebody says, I mean, what about that? I always
Yeah.
say, tell me more. I'm interested,
Uh-huh.
right? So that is you look at everything, with ends up costing everybody lots of hours of work, because when you
Yeah.
look at everything, it means that you are going to work a lot, right?
Hmm.
And some ideas are good, and some are just good ideas but not applicable, or not applicable in the short term. So you put them aside to look at them after. For example, we looked at peroxide cells
Hmm.
back in 2022.
Yeah.
And we made sample modules with heterojunction plus peroxide cells.
Hmm.
And the stability and long-term reliability of those modules after testing was not what the market requires. For that reason, we invested time, invested resources on making those prototypes and making those tests, so that the product was not ready. And right now, we're going to start again later this month on making new prototypes to see
Yeah.
if after these 2 years, the product has gained the long-term reliability that we didn't see 2 years ago. And for that,
Okay.
we have our own technicians, our own testing personnel, and slowly but surely, we continue to build our own laboratory.
Yeah. Love that. I think it's just, it's not easy. I think it's easier said than done, obviously, and kind of like, I'm interested. Tell me more. I love that little bit of just any ideas that come to the table. You just gotta allow that freedom. And
Yes.
that's the first thing that shuts creativity down, is if you push back on that or there's hesitation, it tends to shutter that creativity.
No,
So
that's right. And that for that it helps that we are. I don't think we're a small company anymore, but
yeah,
we are on the smaller side. So you have the ability to be nimble, and at the same time make decisions very quickly. You don't need to go to some corporate committee that is sitting on the other side of the Pacific, right? That
hmm
meets once every quarter, and you just missed this quarter's meeting. You need to wait for another 3 months for it. That
yeah,
doesn't happen, right? I mean, everybody is available all the time for everything. Again, that makes everybody work long hours because
hmm
you have to be available. It means that you are there and you're listening. But at the same time, this is what the entrepreneurial spirit of companies has allowed us to grow at the pace that we have seen.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we're getting closer to time. I want to squeeze in a couple more questions. One is just really to open it up, and if listeners that are tuned in, if they could take away one or two key messages from this conversation, what would you want those to be?
The first one, which comes back to the purpose of Heliene, is what are you doing to make the world a better place, right? So what is your contribution? What are you planning? If you're not doing anything today that will make it better, I mean, what are you going to do tomorrow? And by tomorrow, I mean at some point in your life, right? It doesn't need to be the next 24 hours. But, it's what are you doing? What are you living in this world for, everybody around you to have a better life? And it doesn't mean economically better, but it might mean that the air they breathe is better,
Mm-hmm.
right? There's no more coal electricity production in the UK later on this year, after 150 years. So that is something that is going to be better, right? So, and you might not be involved personally, but, you might help do that with
Yeah.
something else in the area where we live. I would say that is what I would say, because it, is what we do is just a job, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the job will help you pay the bills, and you'll make a living. But making a living with something that actually makes the world a better place actually gives you a sense of accomplishment that you will not get, out of anything else. I don't know if I responded to your question,
No,
Wes.
you did perfectly. It's something I just believe thoroughly in. And I think the beauty of this industry, which I've said before, I think on previous episodes, is we need every type of skill set. We need every type
Mm-hmm.
of background and all the innovative minds, and you can help in any way. How important it is that operator, on the floor that's running the machine and making it happen. That's a piece of it, a huge piece of the success. Whatever that means to, I think, each individual. You take your skills and,
Yeah.
and what you're good at, and you apply it to this industry, and that's the beauty of it. So I love that. Any other kind of parting wisdom, advice you'd like to share with our listeners, or messages in terms of what you're doing, or anything else you'd like to put out there?
The hard job is hard. The hard work is hard,
Yeah.
right? So don't expect things are going to be easy,
Yeah.
right? We all have a function in this corporations, from sales to the delivery, right? And again, hard work is going to be hard,
Yeah.
because otherwise it will be done by itself in
Right.
an era of automation and artificial intelligence, right? Um,
Yeah. That's it.
so
Right. So I have something
Sorry,
on my,
it's as simple as that, but
it is.
as complicated as simple as that.
Yeah, I agree. And I have something on my desk. It says, if you can see that, it says "embrace the suck." It's remembering your why, your purpose, your all those things, right? But at the end of the day, you're gonna do hard things. It's gonna be
Yeah,
challenging. It's gonna be tough. You're gonna have bad days. Nobody enjoys 100% of what they do at any given time. But you have to remember that
no,
that purpose calls and passion of why you're doing it. Embrace the suck, and help move things forward. So, no, absolutely. Well, that'll wrap up our conversation. It really has been. It's been fun. It's been enlightening to hear about your journey and the innovative strides that Heliene is making in the solar industry. Your commitment to high quality manufacturing and your customer first approach. And I mean that truly. That it, again, not a poster on the wall, but something you live and breathe. And that customer first approach are really setting new standards in the renewable energy sector. To our audience out there, as always, thank you for tuning into Green Giants. Thank you, Martin, so much for coming on, sharing your insights and vision for the future of solar energy with us. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share it with your network, and stay tuned for more compelling discussions with leaders in the renewable energy world.
This episode of Green Giants, Titans of Renewable Energy, was brought to you by Lead Group Search. If you enjoyed today's discussion and are looking to recruit top talent for your company or find your next career opportunity in the renewable energy sector, visit leadgroupsearch.com. Let's continue driving the future of clean energy together. Until next time, keep pushing toward a greener future.